Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
My name's Lexi and I've always been the most responsible.
My name's Carter and I like picking on my siblings.
My name's Chase and I love a clean truck.
My name's Summer and I still like to spend my parents' money.
My name's Dane and I love baseball.
And around here, we talk about the real stuff. Parenting, marriage, faith.
Along with grief, growth, second chances, and blended family life.
And all the in-between moments that don't make it to Instagram.
Our podcast is for the couples figuring it out, the parents trying their best, and the ones holding faith and heartbreak in the same hand.
Look, we don't have it all together.
Not even close.
But we do have honesty.
And a whole lot of grace.
This is Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess.
Let's get into it.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where Angie and I have a first on our hands. We're excited about it, but this has never happened before. I was at a work trip, and it was like a bus trip to a Cardinals game. And I actually was the first. I'm used to people after the last 30 years of being on the radio in mid-Missouri coming up to me like, I listen to you on the radio. But I'm getting more and more used to people kind of be like, we listen to your podcast. I had several people that day bring that up to me. And Grant and Key were together and they're in the blended lifestyle. They're newer to it than Angie and I are. And they shared that they are listeners. Well, Key's a big listener. She makes Grant listen, I believe, is how that works.
Yeah. Absolutely. I
thoroughly enjoy that.
Yeah.
So she had questions and I was like, you don't want me answering all these questions. A lot of these are in Angie's lane. I can't even answer all these questions, but we did decide after connecting that we would do a first ever blended couple with questions.
And we don't know what the questions are.
We don't know. It's blind questions asking Angie and Aric. It's kind of like, what was the old newspaper column when we were kids? Like Ask Ann or
Ann Landers.
Ann Landers. Like you would write the newspaper and ask Ann Landers questions and she would try to answer them. And that's kind of what it feels like we're doing today. So guys, welcome.
No pressure.
Before we dive in, why don't you guys just tell us a little bit about your relationship and your kids?
Go ahead.
Well, so we're super fresh. We actually started this journey in May of this year. So we are in the very beginning stages. Yeah. There are 7 of us. And there's me, Key, Grant, and then there's Reese, who's 12. There's Colin, who's 9. There's Camry, who's 6. Nolan turned 6 yesterday. And then there's Kimber, who's 2. So, yeah, that's a little bit about us.
Fun ages.
You want to add anything?
Yes.
I do remember telling you guys that day because you were like, how does this work? And I was like, well, we had a counselor in season 1 tell us 7 years. So
Yeah.
What?
And we keep narrowing that down. Like we're like one day closer every time.
Yeah,
Every
there
time
we go.
Yeah.
we did say along the way, like in the last 6 months or so, we were like, it feels like maybe they're getting along. And they were like, this is year 7. My gosh, it did.
They were on to something.
Wow. So, well, congratulations. And it is exciting. And hopefully we will have answers to some of your questions today.
I hope I did good. Okay, I'll go first.
All right.
All right. How did you balance honoring your kids' emotions while still moving the relationship forward?
Whew.
Heavy out of the gate.
Gosh.
I said no
Right.
pressure.
Right.
Okay, so I would say part of the challenge of blending, as you guys know, is every kid is a little bit different and has a different set of emotions. And when you all come together quickly, I mean, it was quick for us too. At first, it's like, wow, this is great. Everybody's like, it's like a new friends over. But that's different than like now we're coming together as a family. And so you then have to try to deal with all the kids' emotions versus like them coming over to play and then they go back home, right? So what we noticed right out of the gate is you can't treat every kid the same way. And you're also trying to figure out the other kids' emotions. So like I didn't know Eric's kids that well and how they would react and what would bother them or not bother them and vice versa. So we had a lot of missteps.
She's not wrong. Angie's not wrong when she makes fun more of me. I thought I could parent all of the kids, including her 3, the same way I parented mine. That is incorrect. And the sooner that And I was like, well, I'm the dad. I know. Well, the sooner I realized I was wrong, which took a while, and started to try to learn Angie's 3 kids' demeanors, their moods, what they needed. Actually, I started to parent them differently. Now, at times that was challenging for my kids. He's like, well, you're not parenting them the same way you're parenting us. And I was like, well,
we still get that, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't
7
think
years.
this way.
And I'm like, well, I can parent you this way. Like I had you. I know how this works. These kids aren't biologically mine, and they respond a different way than you because they're not biologically mine. So I had to learn, which after I thought about it, prayed on it for a while, realized like I'm the adult. And these kids are still going through their teen years, so their minds are still developing. We also did a lot of research where we were learning that kids' brains aren't developed until they're 27. So they're really learning as they go. And this is very new to them. It's changing their world. I realized I probably should be the big guy, the adult. If I want to be the man of my household, then I should adapt my strategy. And that was hard for me to admit. I didn't want to do it, but I did. And when I did that, then I was able to start connecting with Angie's kids. And Angie was very supportive of me. That helped me to show up better for my own kids.
I would say the key is that he had to learn my kids and I had to learn his kids before you could even probably build a relationship with them or even parent them. And it was almost like he kind of had to go through me. Because I would be like, okay, here's why he's reacting this way. Because last year, blah, blah, blah happened, right? But he wasn't around. So it's almost like you had to really focus on learning the kids, which also takes time before you could really connect with them. That is the hardest part about blending families is because there's so much history about the kids that you don't know. And I think the mistake we made is like jump right in and just assume that everything's going to come together without, like you have to really spend a lot of time getting to know them and what makes them tick and what experiences that they've had that have shaped them a certain way that might make them emotional about something.
Yeah. So it was almost like you're getting to know your partner.
Yeah.
So you're still dating your partner, getting to know your partner, but you're also now getting to know their kids at the same time.
It is messy.
So yeah, I mean, that's why I say it's blended blessed was a mess. It's messy.
That's right.
And because we're the adults in it and we brought these human beings together, we just decided like it was on us to make changes and adjustments, not to expect the kids to make changes and adjustments.
I think it's natural for us as moms to like gather up all the kids and just like love them. And we're the nurturers and that's easy. Like it was easy for me to get to know Eric's kids because like that's just how moms are wired. Like we're just nurturers. I think the biggest challenge was what's Eric's role in relationship because he wanted to be the dad and there's so much complexity with that stern guy coming in.
Well, and there was like, it's my house. I mean, we built a house together, but like, I'm the dad, my house, here's how we're doing things. And it didn't work very good. And when I changed that philosophy, started meeting people where they are.
But you had to understand Chase, like that you had to really get to know him and try to understand this person that you've not been a part of his life for 10 years. It's, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Let's pause there and see if we answered their question.
Yeah.
No, I think that was
Absolutely.
great. I think that's spot on. I don't know if you heard me, but I was like, I think that we're learning that right now.
Yeah.
Learning each
So
other's kids.
Our oldest is 12, and we are definitely going through that
A
area
boy or
right
a girl?
now. Boy.
A boy.
Yep.
Yeah. And your kid or her kid?
My kid.
Your kid. Yeah.
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 So we're going through the trials and tribulations, but it's a blessing.
Yeah.
You know,
I think they all,
the younger ones are adapting much faster.
they are-
You know, they have best friends in the house.
It's easier.
and-
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Especially with the 2-year-old, because for the 2-year-old, that's what they're going to remember is whatever you get.
Right.
well, the 2-year-old and the 9-year-old are best friends, like
Aw.
locked in, nap together,
Oh
hold
my
my
God.
hand, carry me, hold me.
So
and he's
sweet.
like, he's just adapting so well. And then the 2 6-year-olds now, they're sick. They're just, I don't know, same grade. They'll graduate the same year. Like they're inseparable. So they're doing great. And then there's Reese. He's 12 and he's older. And I think he's in that transition of going from like a boy to like a preteen. So,
And then also being in between the separation stage of parents. So that's, we're navigating that as well too.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's tough. It's interesting because I feel like it's tough for boys for some reason in that age group, because while you're his dad and are experiencing that, Chase was my only son. And I feel like he is naturally protective over me. And so he was, so I had a boy and 2 girls, and he was right in the middle. But in my house for 5 years before we blended, it's like he was the guy looking out for his mom. And I think that's what made the transition.
No, he was 6 to 10 at that time. Like,
yeah.
He believed it was his house.
He's like, he's still wired that way, that he has a protector's heart. That's just how he's wired. And so I think, I don't know how your son's wired, but I think at that age, trying to go between mom and dad, boys are they're trying to figure out who they are and what do they do with all their emotions. And I think it's hard for them to get, it's confusing, I think.
Yeah.
It's definitely confusing.
Yeah, I agree 1000%. But he's doing great. He's a great kid.
So what we got next? Did you parent each other's children right away, and did you step back from the role at first?
I guess we kind of did that one. Let me read it again. Did you parent each other's kids right away, or did you take a step back role at first?
I think, let's see, we probably introduced the kids in like October, November.
Yeah.
And so then December time, we had Christmas together. So it was really fresh. And
when did you guys get together?
in September was our first date.
September, November. Okay.
And then,
December.
yes, but I was like, you're never meeting the kids. Like, I don't know what, and he just plowed through that of nope, we're doing this. So it was faster than what I anticipated in my brain, but it was.
No. What happened was she didn't want to date seriously, but then the more she was and the more fun she was having, her kids started to realize that she was seeing somebody. Hallie.
And seeing happiness.
We can relate to
They
that.
could see it happen. And then Summer on a soccer trip was sent through the door. So her kids were figuring out that mom was happy and seeing somebody else. So Hallie wanted to meet me.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's what we did. And then once Hallie did, then it was now everybody wants to meet.
So she was
the oldest. 17.
So, she knew what was going on. So we introduced Aric to her separately. We just went to dinner.
I wasn't pushing for all of that. Kids were figuring out and wanting to understand what was happening.
But
Right.
I think the older your kids are, the harder it is to parent. It's easier when they're younger.
Oh.
But, there was a couple times right out of the gate, he was trying to give Hallie advice. And she's like, dude,
I don't need a dad.
I already have a dad.
I remember that on the podcast.
Yeah. It's like, dude, sit down. So we introduced the kids October timeframe. So we had our first Christmas together. And for whatever reason, Christmas was always an issue for Chase. He would be mad about something at Christmas. He'd get something he was excited about and wanted to hurry and open it and put it together. And we're like, hey, we're still opening gifts. So it just, for several years, even prior to our first Christmas together, we still make fun of him. Every Christmas, it was what is he going to be upset about?
Or Hallie's last Christmas, she was like, I'm going to kill him. She was so mad at him the last Christmas.
He's gotten better. But I don't remember what the deal was, but he got upset about it. And
it was our first one. And it was a chair that he had wanted. And then I was going to help him put it together, but he could put it together on his own, but he couldn't. Even I was having trouble. It took a lot of muscle to get it put together. So for a 10-year-old, it wasn't happening. He got really angry.
So
lost his mind.
Then Aric was like, oh, I'm going to come in dad mode and parent. And that didn't go well.
Wasn't we remember that first Christmas?
Everyone
I wouldn't
does.
say it was our best Christmas. No.
It's terrible. And it was I'm like, what in the hell did I do? What are we doing? Oh my God. But
I want to point out that through this, there's been many times where Angie was going, what in the hell have I done? Meanwhile, I've never thought that.
No, he hasn't.
I was like, this is going great. What are you talking about? They're just growing. It's fine.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Positive influence over here.
We did dial it back, and we this is not going to work if we keep going at it in different directions. So we basically kind of separated the parenting. I'll handle my kids, you handle your kids. And I will say it took a long time, years, before Aric could really, truly parent the kids. Couple years. And I would say to this day, we still sort of lead our own kids from a discipline perspective. Now, standard stuff like, hey, you boys take out the trash. Like he gets in there shit about that.
Chores is one thing. You've got your chores. Those have to be done. I don't consider that parenting.
Are in trouble at school or, stuff like that. I handle my own kids and he handles his own kids because we still co-parent with the other parent and we draw that line. Like I'm not talking to his kids' moms and he's not talking to my kids' dad. Although
we actually have a relationship.
You actually do sometimes,
but
they'll talk. But we've separated that. The discipline part of it is tough. That's probably the toughest thing. And I don't know how.
We do talk about it when we're in bed. We discuss it, right? So like I want her opinion and she'll ask for mine and we'll talk about like what we're seeing and what we think, but then we engage it with the other parent. And then full transparency, like Lance and I didn't develop this like great relationship until after we lost Hallie. And then we were all trauma bonded and we just connected in different ways so that him and I were able to have this nice relationship that the kids appreciate. So her kids really appreciate it.
I also think it depends on what's happening. Like if there's something that happens in your home, like if one of Eric's kids does something that needs to be corrected, I still don't necessarily correct him. I'm like, hey, Aric, I don't know why we just sort of like kind of separated that out, but we definitely can both do it. But
it's worked for us that our kids hear it from their actual parent. And then what happened is like Angie ends up being like this great role model for my kids who they trust and they go to. And now her kids, I feel confident saying the last 2-ish years, they really seem to trust me. And we have what I call great friendships. I feel like I'm just this great bonus parent in their life that they actually enjoy going to and occasionally asking questions to when they don't want to ask their mom or dad something. So
it just takes a lot of time and patience and trying to navigate it.
And again, for me, it was a lot of rewiring my own brain when I was already almost 40 years old. Like I'm not changing the way I do things. And then realize I probably should change the way I do things. So,
yeah.
I think that's fair.
I feel that.
Is it my turn?
Yeah. It's your turn, babe.
All right. Let's see. Ooh, this one's good.
Oh.
Okay. How did you navigate communication and boundaries with exes without letting it affect your household?
I mean, for the most part, we are pretty lucky in that we get along really well with Angie's ex and his significant other. We do graduations and birthdays with them. We do graduations and like celebrated my daughter Lexi's engagement with my first wife, Carrie. And then primarily there's occasionally some communication between Angie and Dane's mom, but it's primarily just me and her. I mean, it just depends on the situation that you're in and how well everybody relates to that. And for us and the twins' dad and their bonus mom, like we were all trauma bonded when we lost Hallie. Like we got along fine before that. Then we lost Hallie and that all happened together. Like just that overarched everything else. And I think part of it too with like my 2 oldest, their mom, like we've been divorced now 18 years or something, long time. So, I mean, I think part of it's you being comfortable in your own relationship to know that person doesn't actually, at least for me, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, like I'm aware Angie's heart belongs to me. I think she knows that my heart belongs to her. So those interactions aren't interactions that I'm having with that ex-spouse are only because I'm dealing with the parent. I'll just say that. I'm dealing from the parental side of things about the child. Does that make sense? Probably not.
Yeah.
Sounds terrible.
You
did a great job, Aric. Good job.
A lot of detail.
Thanks, Kate.
Here's what I would say about that with boundaries. I think you both have to know and communicate with each other if there's things that the exes are doing that is adding stress or creating some sort of friction. So I feel like it first starts with the two of you like, hey, you know what? I'm not comfortable with that. And here's what I would like to see happen. But I also think that in my experience, I do feel like it's better. Like, I don't want to be involved in conversations that he's having with his kids' moms. I just don't want to go over that line to me because I put myself in that situation and I wouldn't want the other person with my kids like coming in and trying to.
Angie's always been great about not crossing boundaries with my kids. She wants to make sure as a mom, she's not offending another mom. She's really good at that, I think.
But But don't get me wrong. There are times where I'm like, listen, this is how this is going to go down.
To me.
This is how
This is how it goes to me. And then I have with heart. Yes.
This is what I'm comfortable with. And this is what I need, how I need you to handle it. Because there's times where he gets worked up around. It's tough.
Correct.
Like, and so I have to like try to talk him through like, that's not something for you to react to. Here's how I think you should handle it. But by no means am I getting involved. But I am definitely behind the scenes saying
The moral compass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's me.
But the kids love it when you get along, right? Like the more you can do to work on the getting along, like the twins love that we have a great relationship with their dad and Michelle. And my kids, like right now, they love that Angie and Carrie get along planning a wedding, or this past week helping to plan Carter getting off into his first apartment. They're working together on that with a text thread, and the kids love that. So you see how well when it does work, and again, it all takes time, but when it does work that way, the kids do really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's important to have a relationship. I think it's also, gosh, there's so many things that like I could say to the other, you know what I mean? I could get involved, but I always think about the kids first. Like, how would this impact the kids? And that is my like number one priority. I mean, there's times where Aric will be like, I think you're doing a lot for the other family or whatever, you know? And I'm like, yeah, but it would it's the best for my kids. And so I always put their well-being at the very, very top. And so there's a lot of times I have to swallow my pride and swallow like, okay, I'm not going to, I'm just going to have to let this go because it's going to make my kid's life easier. So I think it's like all those things, but rooted in just make sure that you both are talking all the time, because I definitely tend to shut down if I'm irritated about something, but I think talking through it first, like this is what I like or don't like, and then coming up with a communication plan.
I'm so hopeful. I'm so hopeful of the brighter side.
The calmness after the storm.
Well, and are you guys fresh in the divorces, or like, how is it still new?
She's been
2 years.
2 years, yeah, and then I'm March of this year.
Yeah.
So
things are happening. Yeah, vastly. So I understand all the emotions and feelings, and I get it. But we're all one team.
I mean, I think the hard part when you have kids going back and forth is like, are they going to like the other house better? Or, are they not going to want to be here? Like, and this, not comparison, but just this like worry, because your kids are going back and forth, and it's just messy. It's hard on your heart. It's stressful. There's all this emotion. You're trying to start a new relationship, like all of those things. And I think if you can keep your relation top priority and what's best for your kids, I feel like then it just sort of, you can see what's noise and what you need to address.
So what she's really saying is just follow Key's lead and everything will be all right.
That's what I said.
That's probably about right, Grant. If we're really into it, that's probably about what that was. I think it was all you.
Have faith.
All right, what's the next easy question?
That's mine. Right.
Okay, great. All right. Sign me up for that.
Right here. What system and routines helped your household feel stable and not so chaotic?
Yeah.
We made sure right out of the gate that we had the same parenting plan for each kid, because we didn't want one kid to be at the house 2 days and then the other kids 4, and then they were missing and vice versa. So for them to connect and for us to really blend everything, it felt like it made more sense for the kids to be on the same parenting plan, whatever that looks like in your homes. So, and that can be challenging, right? If you're not getting along with your ex, because they maybe don't want to be so conducive to that for you. So you kind of really have to work through that. But we did that to try to get some kind of system to where we knew. Now that also allowed us, if we had like 2 nights a week where we were alone, to reflect on what had gone well, what maybe hadn't gone well, but also date a little bit in there, since we were also new to things. And then I feel like just like basic chores, those were just like boys are doing the trash, boys are helping with the yard, and girls didn't have a lot of chores.
No.
So
I think yes to that. And any of the things that you need to knock out and get done, we try to do that when we didn't have the kids, so that when we had the kids, we were just focused on them and focused on bringing them together. it sounds like your kids are kind of already connected. For us, we like tried to coordinate different times for them all to interact and have like one-on-one times together, just sort of get to know each other and blend them together. The more your kids get along, I feel like the easier it is on you from a blending perspective. So we try to get creative ways of like the ones that don't normally hang out to get them to sort of cross-pollinate a little bit.
Yeah, there's one time I remember we had like Dane and Hallie do something because she was the oldest and he was the youngest. And there was like a 8 to 10 year difference, something like that. And then times where we would have Carter and Summer, but not Carter and Summer are really close. And I have to think that part of that is because at a young age, they probably weren't hanging out. Like Carter would have hung out more with like Lexi and Hallie or sometimes with Chase. But so putting him together with Summer, they've actually formed like a really good brother-sister friendship relationship. Chase and Dane were pretty good because they were close in age. They were either like the brothers that either got along or didn't get along. That you just have years all through life.
But we would meal prep, so that when we had them together, we weren't like trying to do all this cooking. We just tried to do as much with the kids together the nights that we had them. So it was so focused, and then just tried to be super organized because, then you're packing up their stuff and they're going back to the other house, and that's tough. What schedule do you have? So
mine is a lot easier. So mine's like a
5225.
Yeah.
Go 522. That's what we had.
And then mine's 2 3
2 2. It's crazy. But we do have the same weekend schedule, so that helps.
That's good.
So we know that like the weekends that we have them on the weekends,
they'll all be together.
They'll all be together, but we don't have any. We have today and tomorrow, and then they come back Friday. We have them through Sunday, Monday-ish. And then the weekends that we don't have them, then we have 2 days during the week to spend together. So we get some free time in there. It kind of works.
Yeah.
But I kind of like what we have going on because some weeks we get 2 days to focus on the girls and then 2 days to focus on the boys. Yeah, and although like there's never been any problems with like they adore all of it. They all just love each other so much. And I think that they're truly the reason why we're moving really fast is because they were like inseparable when they met each other. They're like, well, are we going back? Are we going to hang out? Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, we're going back. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So great question. What is the next question that you have for us?
Looking at where you are now, what does a healthy blended family actually look like and what took the longest to build?
I'll jump in first.
You should.
I think
I'm hopping on top of whatever she says.
I think it was super challenging. I mean, for years, challenging. And like we mentioned earlier, 7 years to build, and we're at the 7-year mark. I think now when I look back, what I feel like shows that it's a healthy blended family is that our kids just hang out together. It's like they're real siblings. But even sometimes in real families, that's so wrong to say.
Right.
But
and
like where
platonic families,
yeah, you don't always
nuclear families,
you don't always choose to hang out with each other. But like when we have family stuff, we look and our kids are all like together and they're all just hanging out and talking. Like it feels like our kids are really blended together. Because that's what it's all about. It's about the kids coming together. Because it's easy for us to come together as husband and wife. I mean, obviously relationships are hard, but like the challenge of blending is how do you actually get your kids together and have this family? And so we always, when that happens, when you see them sort of just formulating.
And they don't need us. We're just out of the kitchen. We're off to the side of the other part of the kitchen, watching them at the table, just hanging out, laughing, telling stories, having fun together. Feels like really good. Really feels like we built a family that feels like it was just our family all along.
Yeah.
And it took several years to do that.
And the hardest challenge in all of this was Aric winning Chase's heart.
It's true.
That was the absolute hardest because he is very headstrong and it had to take him a long time to get to a point where he respected you as a mentor, as like a father figure in his life. Aric will never be Chase's dad.
No.
But like it took years of effort and missteps and, 2 steps forward, 1 step back to where it's like, oh man, they actually have this like friendship.
One of my greatest accomplishments in life is my relationship with Chase.
Oh.
He's one of my favorite people And I think he would say the same thing at this point. And there were times, obviously, the first season where he's calling me the devil. Like, it was not that way out of the gate. And it wasn't that way when Hallie died. And then I think I shared this with you guys a little bit when we were on that trip. Like, for us, definitely, we've been through a lot of things from losing Hallie. That's something nobody should go through. Really difficult for our entire family. That trauma bonded us together. But then, too, and I think Angie would agree with this, was, as I shared with you guys, me deciding to quit drinking so that I could show up for my family the same way all the time. And I told somebody this week, maybe it was last week, that they asked why I thought that was a big deal. I know, I was talking to a guy who, him and his family are going through a grief season right now. And he had known I'd quit drinking a while ago, and I'd never really given it the full stress. I said, now that you're in this grief season, I'll tell you the full deal. My family was in so much pain, and I hated to see it. And I knew that me just drinking wasn't helping the situation. I was trying to numb my own pain, but it wasn't working. So I thought to myself, if I can live with being the best version of myself and my family not coming together. What I can't live with is not being the best version of myself and this family not coming together. Because I believe if I do things the right way, things are going to work out. So that was when I chose that decision, and it allowed me to connect. Chase and I really started to connect after that. And then Summer and she really appreciated that. My kids appreciated that. It just allowed me to be so even for them, I feel like, all the time, that they just felt this safeness.
Well, and I think that's his story. So that might not be the same story another family has. But I think the takeaway from that is that kids want to know that they matter. They want to know that present. They want to know that you're consistent, that you're always going to be there. It's what all kids need. But I think especially in a blended family, because divorce is traumatic for kids. I mean, my parents are still married, so I don't know what that's like to live out of a bag, because that's basically what they're doing. And my girls Chase lives out, like, that kid will keep his bag packed and he just throws it in his truck because he doesn't care about what he wears. Who it's hardest on is the girls that get, 12, 13, 14 years old, and it matters what they wear and what they're packing and going back and forth, and they forget something. And all kids have the same needs. So it's like figuring out, how do you as a mom and dad show up for these kids that have been through hard divorce is challenging, it's traumatic for them, and keep that consistency. And so that's Aric's story.
I just wanted to provide consistency. Yeah, not everybody's going to have that story, but for me, that's what it was to be able to provide the most consistency. And then when I did that, I felt like the last 2 years, the relationships got really deep.
But I think it comes full circle to our very first answer of the question. Our answer was, you have to learn the kids. And so it's learning, what do they need? And that's what our kids needed at that time, was that consistency from Aric to just show up for them. And we're always available. We're always here. So it's that's the work that has to be done in blending, is really understanding what each kid specifically needs from both of you when they're in your home and when they're not. And because for me, I don't know what it's like for you guys, but I'm still their kid's mom, even when they're at their dad's. So guess who's still calling me when they need something? I have this whole trauma around, I don't ever turn my phone off at night. I don't care where they are, I'm not off duty because my kids are at their dad's. So it's then also figuring out, what's that look like to still be a parent when your kids aren't at your house? And that's navigate too, especially when kids get a little bit older and they have phones and they can just call you and from the other house. That definitely is another area to navigate.
We're working through that one right now. The middle one just got his first phone, and then we're communicating with the youngest through the middle ones. So it's
it can be challenging.
It's a good thing, and it can be a messy thing too.
Yeah. What you got next?
You get the bonus question.
I get the bonus question?
Yeah.
All right, let's see it. What advice would you give us specifically, knowing we are in the early stages of blending?
What you got, Angie?
What you got?
Look at that.
Well, gosh, there's so much. I look back at our early stages of blending, and I would just say you're going to have to overly communicate. I mean, there's a lot of time. You're new coming together, and parenting is hard when they're your own kids, and you first were married, then you had kids, you got to know each other first and sort of had this foundation. But when you're blending, it's like you're also trying to learn each other and also learn kids. So I would make sure that you're taking time for yourself because that's also needed. The times where I felt like I was losing my mind, it was like once I could get a moment to myself, which would hurt Eric's feelings in the beginning of
We're
what.
fine now, but at the beginning I didn't like it. But now I
I'm
get
like,
it.
"Oh, I need a minute by myself." So make sure you're communicating what you need and also making sure you're communicating even when it's a tough conversation around like, hey, I didn't like that. Could we do something?
We did have some of those conversations where it's like, I didn't like how you handled that. I moving forward, if that happens again, can we do it a different way? I maybe try this. We had a lot of those conversations.
A lot of conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
And there was a time where I was so stressed out about trying to blend because I'm also like working a full-time job. And then it was like
so was I.
It was COVID and all of that.
Yeah, like I was homeless, living on a job. I've been working this whole time too. I don't know. And so bottom line is like,
Angie, I get it because I have a full-time job and he's a business owner who like works,
See what I'm saying? I get.
He goes and works out during the day. I'm like,
listen, he gets to go do whatever. Like, you ain't got your hair cut today?
Anyway,
working.
We had marketing that day. Okay.
Yeah. Off topic. I don't think that the point is that we're in it together. We're not pointing fingers, all right?
There you go.
Sideways, ladies. Reel it in, okay? Let me be the voice of reason that brings this home.
There it is.
I think that for me, there was a lot of prayer, and I was making our kids and Angie, like taking them to a church they weren't familiar with because they really hadn't had faith in their life at that point for a few years. And so my thing, me and my kids were to church. It was like, hey, I want you to check this out. And then once that happened, then that was part of the routine. When you're at our house, we're going to church on Sunday. And I was praying at the dinner table, which was not something that they were comfortable with initially. And I would sometimes pray for me and Angie in bed, which was new for me and awkward for me. But I felt like we needed it because we didn't know what we were like praying out loud to her about our marriage, about our kids. And it still is. I don't do that as often as I should anymore. I need to do it tonight. You're going to get that. You're going to get it. But that was part of our routine was we're doing this and we're going to keep God central in this. And that was beneficial for us, especially then when we would lose Hallie. So
one time though, we were not in a good spot and we ended up, we're at dinner on Valentine's Day, just stressing about blending. See, he thought I was going to say something negative.
Well, you girls were going down a bad path, okay? So
no, we weren't. This was cool. And this older couple that we knew, but they were having dinner, and we ended up sitting down with them, and they had blended
30 years before.
30 years before that. And they also had a son that really pushed back on his bonus dad.
And he was one of my really good friends, but I didn't know all of these stories about him.
And so they tell us this whole long story. And it was like one of my fears of like that if Aric was too hard on Chase, he wouldn't want to be at our house and he'd want to just go live with his dad. And like, as a mom, I cannot like fathom not having my kids. I already don't like having half the time, right? And so that was like such a fear of mine. And so that was really a lot of our challenges was like, I didn't like the way he was parenting, but Chase needed to be parented, but he was really pushing back on us, probably a similar age of your son. Anyway, so we're sitting there chatting with them and we start talking about like, what advice do you have? Because their son ended up going and living with his dad. I'm like, oh my God, you're like telling me something I fear. But she's like, he had to go do that. Like he had to go figure that out. And then he like came back, And so I'll never forget the dad's advice. The bonus dad's advice was you don't change who you are. Like don't change how you're doing. Just stay consistent. Just keep showing up and they will eventually understand. And then our therapist tells us this too, of like, keep in mind, you're playing the long game. They're not going to understand right now, but you're playing the long game. So I think between those two things, we constantly remind ourselves of that, of like, stay consistent. Don't waver on what what your core beliefs are. You might have to change your tactics for kids based on the individual kids, but like, just keep showing up with who you are. And they will eventually understand. Might be rough though, but you're playing the long game. And those two things, like if someone says, just give me one piece of advice, that's what I would say. It's just in the depths of all the challenges, just keep reminding yourself, hey, we love each other. We're playing the long game with these kids. We'll eventually get it all figured out. That doesn't
All the
mean
pieces will fall into place.
it doesn't mean parenting's easy though. I mean, because we've been blended.
I know that's right.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I don't know when that will end, but there's still a lot of parenting challenges.
Yeah. So, but all in all, for me, I would agree with Angie. Like those are everything she said about that Valentine's dinner and what our counselor says is true. And
it gave me hope. Like it just changed. I'm like, okay. It gave me like hope. Like, okay, there's other people that have figured this out and we can relate to.
What Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess is about. It's giving hope.
That's right.
Folks like Grant and Key. And that's really where we're at and why we're grateful this happened today.
Well, we couldn't thank you all enough for answering our questions and shedding us some light on navigating our, we call it a mess every day.
Well, you have a super cute family. I went and looked at your Facebook page. I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids are adorable.
I'm a little biased, but I love our little blended family.
Adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys reach out anytime, seriously.
Yeah, I'm trying to push, just so you know, Aric, I'm trying to push Grant to go on a walk with you. You said you like to walk with people.
I walked with a guy at 10 o'clock this morning. It was beautiful out.
And we'll go get massages, Key, while they
There
walk.
it is.
Yeah, we should.
I'm going to do 1,000 miles on the year. And I got like 380 to go. So I got plenty of miles for you. All right.
I gotcha.
You can help me get there.
I got a pretty open schedule, so you just holler.
Yeah, he does.
So does he.
All right, guys.
I'll keep it after the morning show.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for doing our first mailbag. I guess it is. We're glad to do it. And we appreciate you listening. Anybody else that has questions, feel free to reach out. For all of you at home, we hope you have a wonderful week and God bless.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. Lexi and Hal, take it away.
I'm Lexi.
And I'm Hallie.
Have a great week.
Or have the week that you deserve.
That was her.
Yeah, God bless.